order.
All right, we are good to go.
All right, I guess it's to you, Ms. Damasio.
Actually, I think that we're going straight to Ms. Cutter.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure who was doing the consent items.
Is Ms. Cutter there?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we have some good information to share today in preparation for the upcoming board meeting. You've received the packets, and I want to first thank Dr. Robinson for catching on the security committee report a word left out. So thank you, Dr. Robinson. Great things happen with great teams. Thank you so much for that. The first slide, it talks about the proposed action items for the March board meeting. We have the security services contract. The proposals are currently under evaluation, and that process will be completed in time for the March 22nd board meeting, in which a recommendation will be made. This is a standard contractual service agreement, and there's a recommendation that it be a part of the consent agenda. Any questions on that so far?
Now, are we going to stay with our current system? Or are we looking for another?
We don't know how the proposals are going to rank at this time, Dr. Robinson. They are currently under review.
Gotcha.
Our current service provider did submit a proposal. Okay. The next is a contract amendment to the contract award to DeJong and Levitt for Naval Engineering Services. Initially, the scope was for a fully diesel-powered vessel, but after a further discussion, we think that it is best to do a scope for a hybrid, which causes, of course, a contractual amendment for those additional services associated with hybrid construction.
Now, does this have an emphasis on eliminating emission and environmental?
Yes, it does.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am, it does. And it should save us in fuel cost as well.
That's what I was going to say, Ms. Cutter, is the operating costs are really substantially lower with the hybrid ferries. And we think that we both get the environmental benefit, but we also get an operating benefit that will really be important.
Absolutely. And next, any other questions or comments on that one? And a lot of the additional language will be included in the action item report once all of the information is documented. But this is what we have right now. The next is the electric bus rollout and implementation plan. Proposals are currently under evaluation. We will have the recommendation prepared for the board meeting on the 22nd. The electric bus, this project has been underway for a while. A lot of history on it, a lot of information shared. We are also recommending that this is a part of the consent agenda. What is new is, in addition to our retention and recruitment incentive program, we really haven't experience the benefits of that incentive program on the recruitment side that we thought we would. So we wanted to add another component by engaging employees to other operators to help us recruit for operator positions. With that comes a $500 referral that would be paid to the operator who actually makes the referral, and the referred applicant remains with us for a period of 6 months. A second component of that is an employee who makes a referral of 2 or more during the months of April through June will receive an additional $500 payable at the end of June, keeping in mind that these incentives as proposed will be covered by salary savings, no impact to the operating budget. Any questions on that?
Well, I was really impressed to see that, because, you know, word of mouth is your best form of advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even when if a peer says this is a fantastic place to work, you know, you need to come on board, and they trust that person, they'll join us. So I think that was a great idea.
Great. Any other comments, Dr. O'Halloran, Director Stone?
Just the only question I was thinking of is, when will the next full ferry replacement come to the ones that we're getting? And are we looking to go electric with those?
The construction period previously was identified as 18 months, but I think it may take a little longer than that now because of shipping delays and other delays. So we're estimating around 2 years. There is some grant funding out there for us to test the waters with electric bus construction. And I do believe the CEO is going to recommend that we pursue that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I did see where there's 1.7 billion for electric bus replacement coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Have we been even seen that out there yet, or is that just political game playing for now?
No, they just put a NOFO out for low and no low vehicles, which the electric vehicles are part of that.
Right.
No emission, low emission. So we the NOFO just came out. I think it was at the end of last week, and we're evaluating it, Dr. O'Halloran, to figure out how to best position ourselves and what to ask for and so forth. Then there's also earmarks that have come out of, we saw one that actually was, it turns out, a little premature, and there was some work that had to be done to it from Congressman Buddy Carter's office, and then Senator Warnock's office put out a call for earmarks this week. So we are working all of those things to submit. We've already submitted on the earmarks for electric buses, but this new NOFO opportunity will be another way for us to pursue that.
And did anybody, we had a question, I don't know what meeting was that, as to actually how many charging stations we have at the site right now?
We have a mobile and a fixed.
And how many for actual bus connection? I know we have a mobile generator. How many connectors did they put into the lot?
One.
One?
We have a mobile setup, and then we have the fixed setup. Yes, sir.
And how
one
many buses can we charge?
Well, it can accommodate, it is my understanding, Dr. O, and may have to bring some information back to you. But we can accommodate the 6 buses that we currently have in inventory.
That's correct.
Another charging station is scheduled for the ITC. And right now we are working on a partnership with Georgia Power. We have submitted an application, or are in the process of submitting an application wherein they will cover the cost of the infrastructure for the charging station, which saves Chatham Area Transit tons of money. So Good community partnership to get the charging station equipment over at the ITC as well.
Oh, good, because I know there's federal money for that now too.
Yes, sir. And Dr. O, if you remember, we talked about under the One Chatham concept that we would be expanding the charging stations throughout the county where the buses would not have to come all the way back in to be charged, and also to open up that opportunity to other agencies to use out in the fields, one east, west, north, and south. So the charging stations will be an expanded program.
Oh, good. I'm glad they thought about that. Sometimes we don't realize we don't communicate with everybody all that well.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
No,
on
that's
the?
all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we'll get into the financial slides. Slide 2. I do apologize. My PC freezes sometime. Okay, this slide is really giving the board a FY22 budget status. Really a breath of fresh air. The year-to-date revenues slightly exceeds the year-to-date actual revenues slightly exceeds the year-to-date budgeted revenues. With the conditions as they are, I do believe it was anticipated that that would have been the opposite. So we are moving along quite nicely. When we compare the year-to-date actual revenues related to year-to-date expenses are down, primarily due to the number of vacancies that we have, showing a positive variance of a little over $5 million. Year-to-date budget revenues versus expenditures. Expenses, the variance there is $620,224. The graph just depicts what the numbers tell. You can see it graphically. The red represents the variances. The month-to-date variance compared to budget, the year-to-date actual compared to budget.
And I'm assuming that includes the extended payments on the CRISA that we took.
Yes, sir.
And how long will that run for? I know it was 14 or so months or something like that.
I'll have to verify and get back with you on that one, Dr. O.
Yeah, I don't remember the amount of months. I know it wasn't forever. It's
No,
gonna
it
run out
wasn't.
at some point.
I want to say 18, but I'm not absolutely sure. I'll have to get back with you on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I had about the same number in mind, so we're
Okay.
probably good into 2023.
Yes, sir. Okay. Just wanted to share some FY22 budget snapshots as it relates to what's going on with revenues, expenses, the supplemental paratransit services, and other budgetary impacts. Of course, understandably, passenger fares are down because of decreased ridership. And that's, of course, attributed to driver shortages, modified routes, a combination of things. The transit tax is slightly above year-to-date projections. That's a good thing. The agency revenue is slightly down. However, we are beginning to see it trend up again. The DOT shuttle is running. The senior circulator is back. So we should see those revenue sources continue to climb. On the expense side, expenses are down, primarily in the areas of salaries and wages, simply because of position vacancies. We should, hopefully, with the implementation of the peer-to-peer incentive program, that gap will be closing soon, where we're getting employees on board, which helps us to serve our customers better, and stabilize operations. Supplemental paratransit services. I know the directors were really concerned about this contractual agreement, but we have kept a hawk's eye on it. The January billing is in. It totaled $10,759.90. We have reviewed it. We have verified it. Now we are in the process of paying it.
Ms. Cutter, may I ask you something about that?
Yes.
Do we have an indication of how many transports they actually made in January that assisted us?
Yes, I do have that information. Dr. Robinson,
You can give it to me later.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted to see, and
Is that something, I assume that transportation included that as a part of their report, but I can definitely include it as a part of the finance report under this caption, so that it's right there.
And my other question is, this $10,000, almost $11,000 a month, do we see that going in an upward amount, or pretty much stable, or can we even predict that?
I see it going down once we hire additional drivers. As drivers come on board, this figure should go down. And we anticipate additional drivers being in place at least by May. They start training on Monday. So I would think May, June, the last 2 months of the fiscal year, hoping that to see reductions in this number. Okay.
Is that realistically only $350 a day?
Well, the thing is, they have only been able to assist us, I believe, on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna do that math too, Dr. Halloran. I decided not to. By the day, I'm going, that's pretty cheap, but.
Yeah, that's they were not able to provide because they're experiencing driver shortages as well. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. The other, we've talked about the special recruitment incentive program, and we've also talked about the revenue expense comparisons. Just wanted to show you what the month-end cash balance looks like. Just as projected, is up and down with peak points in December. That's when people pay taxes, and we benefit from that. And we should see another peak in May and perhaps June. People are paying taxes. So continue to keep you updated on this so you can see how that comes in. Budget prep. We're really going to have to look at things differently for FY23. We have a lot of major challenges as we move back to normalcy. Our new revenue sources, our outside services that we once provided to colleges and universities. We need to horn in on reaching out to see if we can gain contractual agreements with them to render services that we provided in the past and to gain new services. We have to be concerned about capital projects funding shortfalls, anticipating the cost of construction of ferry boats is going to be higher than originally projected. Funding for the transit development plan, and I think Mr. Massimo has really dug in and received commitments to assist with that. We're going to have to talk about the longevity of the incentive programs that we are currently implementing. And of course, that would be driven by the need for incentive to maintain a healthy workforce. Employee benefits enhancements. And compared to other governmental agencies, our benefits are, they are really not comparable at all. And we really need to horn in and do a little better with this in order to retain employees. In addition, as we look closer at the organization, there are risks involved, and we have to prepare financially for the risks that we are exposed to. So we'll be taking a closer look at that to better prepare for such risk. Budget balancing strategies. A lot of times when it comes to balancing a budget, the easy thing to do is to raise taxes or to raise fees. I think it's always best before you get to that point, you should always look at your operations and ways of improving operating efficiencies and work program management. Do we want to or not want to include a vacancy factor as a balancing strategy? More reliance on internal talent in lieu of contracted consulting services. We're going to be paying a lot of attention to that because some of these things offer a great cost-saving measure. So these are just some of the things, and I welcome your feedback on each of these categories as we really get into the nuts and bolts of the FY23 budget. And you'll hear more about it at the workshop that's scheduled for the 31st.
One thing I'd like to add to the things that Ms. Cutter has shared with you in the expense challenges bucket there, when we talk about financial planning for risk, having a more engaged level, a matched level of financial planning for the different exposures and risks that we have is certainly a part of it. I want the board to also, and this committee to also feel very confident that we are not just focusing on planning for the risk financially, but we are focusing on managing the risk to lower it. And part of that is just as plainly good management, solid management that is not only anticipating, but is taking some risk out of our equations because of just solid good management. So I want to be sure and point that out. And on the more reliance on internal talent in lieu of contracted services, that also means, and this goes back to some of the other things that Ms. Cutter touched on here, that also means that we have the both the depth and breadth and level of internal talent to manage any contracted services that we have to a performance objective and to be able to perform particular tasks and so forth. We have great people at CAT, but we also have some areas of performance where we just don't have the talent. And so the notion that we're going to have to recruit in a focused and effective way, and that we're going to also have to bring up, frankly, just some plain solid project management talent that can actually manage projects, whether they're being delivered internally or through contracted services, is really important. That's a skill set that a lot of places have a focus need to develop further. And that also then goes back to the employee benefits enhancement. We've talked quite a bit about employee benefits of all different kinds lately. We've certainly talked about compensation. We've also been looking at things like workman's comp and medical benefits and the other kinds of life insurance and all those kinds of things. And what our packages look like and what our folks get for what they pay for, I think that we have a lot of opportunity there. So I just wanted to offer all those comments in addition to what Ms. Cutter has shared in terms of the CEO's perspective on where we can do better and where we will do more, and understanding our thought process on this. So thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did I read where there's going to be some more federal money for transit?
There is, but it's a little bit. So there is more money being put into transit. It's coming to the states. It's not coming necessarily always. Now we're a direct recipient, but it's not necessarily all direct recipient funding. A lot of it is new competitive opportunities that they're funding. So we've got to go be able to put in good grant applications and compete effectively and deliver them well and so forth and so on. So there's that. Then there's also allocations to states. And then there is some amount that could be of an increase to us through as a designated recipient, but it makes it sound, I think, when you hear a lot of the news stories, or even when you talk to folks that are kind of keeping their ear to the ground in Washington, it sounds like it's a lot, but it's something to be cautiously optimistic about, not to get excited about yet.
Okay, well, I read it was I read it online that they were going to put more money into transit.
Yeah, a lot of it's going into competitive opportunities. A lot of it is going into apportionment and allocation formulas to states and so forth. So that's not to say that there's not a lot more infrastructure opportunity out there right now. There absolutely is. But this goes back to some of the conversations that we've all had earlier, where that's why it is so critically important that we spend our time really getting our house fully in order so that we can compete effectively, that when especially those competitive opportunities come to us, but even others, that there's great confidence in our ability to be able to deliver on time, on budget, and so forth.
Thank you.
And if we talk about money's going to the state, our lobbyists need to be looking at that, because a lot of that money ends up in Atlanta when we need it as well. So I think our lobbyists should hopefully are on top of this as well.
He is indeed, Director Robinson. I'm glad you brought that up. So Mr. Vacker and I get a report every week, and he and I talk at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. And we are staying on top of what they're doing in the legislature, and particularly how GDOT is considering some of that multimodal funding that's coming through them and so forth. So we are staying on top of it. And in fact, GDOT is the partner, the most effective, or the strong partner to us in this funding that we hopefully are going to be getting later this month to be able to do this transit development plan. They're going to come in with hopefully 80% of it, and then we've got 4 other partners plus ourselves to make up the 20%. So for a really solid $500,000 study that's going to become our blueprint for how we not only take all of our opportunities and serve our community even better in the near term, but how we do that into the future.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We like surveying the other major competitors for our employees, like the city, the county, the ports, the airport, to look at the benefit structures that they're offering.
We
Ms.
will,
Cutter's gonna be doing that.
yes, we will be looking at that.
And because I know the cities come up with in all their advertisements, they're listing what's available when you join.
Yeah.
And my other question is, when do we expect to see the completion of the new dock? Have we cleared the
We are,
EPA yet?
all of the NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act.
That's
So
wrong.
all that environmental piece has been done. There's a DNR permit that both that DNR permit and a letter that was needed from the city. We're probably about 6 to 8 weeks out because of the transfer of title and some completion of activities by the city in order to effectively make that transfer and to also to finish buttoning up the DNR and those related activities as well. So, but we're getting very close, and we've got a really strong collaboration going on with the city and our other partners on that.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'll be a big plus because I know they're dying to get a dock over there. Especially with them running the DOT shuttles out that way now.
Yeah.
Okay, the next slide talks about the FTA review process. We talked, Mr. Massimo mentioned project management, and on yesterday, I had a meeting and it's really getting close to conclusion. The follow-up request had to do with, of course, accounts payable from receipt of the delivery paperwork to purchase orders, wrapping up and making sure all of that is there, particularly regarding the electric buses. So as the important component of project management, they mentioned that and really dug into who the project manager was and was there a project management log, so on and so forth. The good thing about that was with the electric bus procurement, the team, Chatham Area Transit employees, as well as the manufacturer and other players, there was a documented project listing that was really helpful and beneficial. They wanted to know more about project milestone details, and the project that came up was the Cat Central renovation. So I'll be sharing information on that. And of course, the project hasn't moved yet. And then there was another item, and I'm going to have to follow up with some research, SRTA. Some of our vehicles are still titled to SRTA, State Railroad Toll Agency. I believe that's the acronym.
It's SRTA, it's the State Road and Toll Authority.
Yeah. That is a mandate that when state CERTA funds are used, that the vehicles purchased must be maintained in their name. So I'm going to have to research the governing requirement for that and send to FTA. So these are the kind of things that they are fine tuning that's requiring additional information. And I anticipate wrapping this up by the end of the week. And hopefully this will close us out. They made some very favorable comments in terms of our record keeping. and our cooperation during this process. It is very clear that they received direction from FTA to look at Chatham Area Transit with a microscopic eye. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're not leaving any stone unturned. I think it's been an excellent training process for the staff. Now I think staff understands the importance of accurate and documented record keeping for every dime of FTA money that we spend, and the importance of creating your folders wherever these reviews come around. All you need to do is pull your folder, and every piece of communication is in that folder. So a learning process for us, and just look forward to getting the report back and moving forward. Any questions regarding the review?
Just are those titled vehicles, are those that batch of power transits that we ordered?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that was through a state contract. I remember that,
Yes, sir. You're absolutely correct.
So,
especially after we got the lift fixed.
so Ms.
Yes,
Cutter,
sir.
one thing to know on those CERTA vehicles is Gail Franklin, the person from the ATL that's going to be coming down here later this month, the Director of Transit, the ATL was and still is CERTA. And Chris Tomlinson, who's the head of CERTA Greta ATL, is also has actually came down here just about a week ago for just a quick meeting, and we had a good conversation about our transit system here. So if we need to get some help on that, we've got 2 really good access points to get that squared up as is needed.
Okay, thank you for that information. And procurement and compliance. We talked a little about the CAT Central building reconfiguration. There are contract issues around insurance and bonding. And it looks like we cannot proceed as awarded. However, we are going to move forward with the realignment of the board administrator's office. Is no need to keep that attached to this project. All that is moving a portable wall and maybe installing some electrical outlets. It's just no need to wait on this project to move to get that done. So we've already taken steps to move forward with that. Matter of fact, we had a vendor on site today taking a look so that they could give us a quote on what it would cost to get that done. The compliance monitoring piece, we're going to take a look at the CRC contract for compliance. As I stated earlier, the January billing has already been reviewed for accuracy, but the compliance piece is going to look at the procedural component from sign in to sign out, those kinds of things. We're going to be taking a look at the paratransit compliance review results. We've already completed that, but going to take a look at the results to identify areas of procurement. And then in April, we're going to look at DBE outreach and participation. Procurement has been asked, the procurement manager has been asked to reach out to city, county, who has DBE certification programs already in place to see how we can piggyback and gain insight from them moving forward. And the long-term financial planning piece is really going to be driven by the transit master plan. Whatever comes out of that plan, it will identify the organization's direction, and the long-term financial plan will be implemented to complement the master plan, to include grant opportunities, new revenue sources, debt policy, and of course, service efficiency and performance measurement. And that's all I have for today. Any questions? That's enough, huh?
Yeah,
Did we hear anything back from the hovercraft guy?
I have a document that's going to him this week with a series of questions for him to answer before he presents to you all. There's a series of things that we just need to work through before he presents. And so I've got to get that out to him hopefully by Thursday.
Yeah, especially with the fair difference in our Title VI requirements. I guess that's going to be a difficult bridge to cross.
Well, I've got a list of both technical and sort of legal, environmental, all kinds of issues that he's just got to give us some really solid, detailed answers to in order for it to even benefit you guys to try to, consider it thoughtfully. We've got to have real information in order to do that. So.
I mean, it's an excellent idea, but we can't do what we can't do. It's not worth
Probably a better
risking our
private
funding.
sector idea.
Excellent private sector idea.
yeah, I worry a little bit about some of that he was proposing. I mean, if you're going to take them to Tybee and drop them off at Lazaretto, how are they supposed to get down to the Strand?
There's a lot of issues there, Director Stone. So like I said, we're going to give him a list of all the good detailed questions we need for him to answer. And depending on the answers to those questions, then we'll consider scheduling him for a future board meeting if we can get some really good solid answers. But I think we've got to have those first.
I do too. And it's been a while since I've been on one, but they can be extremely loud.
They are, in fact, they are very loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working with John on that as well. Mr. Allen has been deeply involved in this also. So,
Okay.
yes, Director Robinson, I think you've got your hand.
Yeah, I just have a question. Looking forward to FY23. How are we positioned that do we have to go to the county for that the loan that we normally ask them for was 1.5, 1.3
1.5 line of credit. We are really working very hard to not have to rely on that.
Right.
And it's just gonna mandate that we manage efficiently. If we don't have it, we don't spend it.
Mhm.
It's
Amen.
not a good idea to rely on credit
I agree.
for your payroll. So
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't used it in over 2 years. When was the last time we actually used the line of credit?
early last year.
Yes.
Yeah, we used it last year.
Well,
Before we got the CARES Act money to replace it.
Right.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought that was like June or July of 20. And not
No,
21.
because when I got here, and I came in April, there were outstanding payments. So that tells me we did use it in early 21. Mhm.
I don't remember us doing that, but maybe I thought the last time we used it was like July or August when we were waiting for the CARES money to come through.
Mhm.
And then when we got it that August 10th or 11th, we paid everything back.
Mhm.
And I thought the line of credit was zeroed out at that time.
I'll double check for you, Doctor.
I know,
But
I
I
mean,
do
I'm not-
remember,
I'm pretty sure we're at 0, so that's fine as long as.
yeah, it's 0 and it has been 0 going on a year now.
Mhm.
That's a
good.
good feeling. That's a good feeling. Mhm.
A safety net never hurts. So,
That's
know,
right.
It's been a
God
lot of
forbid
hard work.
something drastic happen like the
And
lawsuit.
that's what it is, a safety net.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what we're looking for on this section 4 about monthly reporting. Do we have anybody who wants to add something?
I don't think that we have any other items under that, Director.
Yeah, I think that I haven't. The only thing I was kind of looking for is like that, the page in the financials where we have the revenues and expenses separated. Can we possibly put together a package that has the setup same as that, but instead of having month to date and that, have it as the 5 years preceding before we go into those budget meetings so everybody can see how much
Oh,
it's
yes.
changed over 5 years?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that, I know that helps me because if I can see
Yes.
raw numbers on each category, we can, I mean, it's all information that's there. It would just have to be put into like a 2-page chart with expenses and revenues so we know where we are,
Yes, sir. We can definitely do that.
because we only meet to do the budget once a year. And I think by 2 months out, we're already forgetting what those numbers are.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
That's all I had. And the COVID emergency measure extension, where we're extending through April.
We had a report on that at the earlier meeting. Do you, Ms. Dumas, do you still have the report on that that Mr. Dumas gave in the last meeting? Or
Yes, ma'am, I do. And it's a quarterly update. It'll be 90 days out.
Yeah.
Once the board approves it this month.
And when does the mask mandate from the feds go out? In that April, something like April 15th?
Well, it's extended through this month, March 18th, I believe. Unless they
Okay,
renewed it
then.
again.
that's correct.
So we're almost out of it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But we're going to keep the mask mandate with filling the buses end to end? Or is that going to go away once that deadline hits for the feds?
I think we'll have to wait and see how the federal guidelines come down, and how it's also, being mindful and respectful of our local governments and how they react to that as well, and then being consistent. But we're going to continue we're very excited about going back to full seating capacity, including the masks right now. So we'll just have to, I think we're still in a bit of let's wait and see how this all goes.
Yeah, it's almost has to because of the driver shortages. And how soon did that 18-year-old CDL license go into effect? That's already in effect?
It went into effect the week that I came on board here. So it's
Okay.
been in effect for about a month.
And we're doing outreach to the high schools.
We're doing outreach to, we're planning outreach. We haven't done any yet, but we're planning outreach to VOTEC programs, including vocational programs at high schools for when the kids graduate and are 18. Our plan is to do that, but also to work with the other sort of local technical colleges and so forth. There's a couple of things there we've got to work out, but that is absolutely going to be. But I honestly think this peer-to-peer program that we've come up with is really going to be instrumental. I don't think there's anything more compelling than being recruited by a peer to come here and being told, I work there. It's a great job. This is what you can enjoy and so forth. And then we've just got to match it with all the other things that you've heard about today in terms of, we've got to have more, look at our benefit package and make sure that we have a cost-effective, reliable benefit package, and so forth. And then we've got to, make sure that we're a great place, continue to be, and are a great place to work. You want to be here every day.
Yeah, money helps that too. People
Money
always
helps
like to
that too.
get free money.
Absolutely.
Drop my pen. Any other comments, questions?
No, and we'll keep you posted on the grant to GDOT. Like I said, I you can't be guaranteed of anything until they do something, but I'm feeling reasonably positive about our proposal that's into them, and very positive about the fact that we had such great match partners locally to help carry it over the finish line. So, and that's going to make for a better plan too. So very exciting.
Yeah, and also the fact that you can go right after the grants and not have to wait for board approval is probably a good idea. They're always short dated, like a couple of weeks, and if they're not in, you're out.
It's true.
I think that's it for me. If everybody's satisfied, I'm going to adjourn the meeting and thank you all for coming.
Thank
A lot of
you.
good information and looking forward to moving forward.
Thank you, directors.
you.
It's great to see you
Thank
all.
you.
I think I can quote that, looking
Take care,
forward to moving
everyone.
forward.
Bye.